that. Thank you. Okay. There we go. Okay, well, listen, appreciate everybody being on here. So what I'd like to do is just real quickly, you guys can see my PowerPoint, correct? Yes. So we're going to be talking today about South Sudan, Africa. And so a quick agenda, if you can see the change. Did it change on you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll talk a little bit about, because a lot of you guys weren't here before. A lot of you people were here, and I really appreciate you coming back again. Is, a little bit about what Rotary is. Oh, who scratched that? Was that me? What Rotary is. And then also we'll talk about I'll have Jolynn, who's a really important person to this group here as an interact. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll turn this over to Francis and Susan from South Sudan. I think you had mentioned somebody's in Kenya right now or something like that. And then we'll talk about some upcoming events, and then we'll close out. But what I want to do is, just like any classroom environment, guys, I want you to turn your video cameras on. So Grayson, I love your dog, but we got to turn you on there. Frank, if you wouldn't mind. Kristen, if you wouldn't mind. We do that for a couple of reasons. Number one is we have certain people that are been invited. We want to make sure that we have all the right people that are on the call invited and there. Mute yourself unless you've got a question or something like that. That's important. And then what I'd like you to do is open up your gallery or gallery mode. I would also like you to go ahead, open up your chat box. We use that quite a bit. And if you wouldn't mind just putting something in the chat box right now that says who you are, what school you go to, and perhaps what your age is. That would really help out a lot. I just want to make sure the chat box is working. We use the chat quite a bit. So if you have questions, or if you have something that someone says is really cool, type in there really cool or happy face or something like that, just so we keep this really interactive. And then let's see, and then participate, guys. This would be boring if it's just one person talking the entire time. We don't want that. We want you to be able to jump in and have some conversations and so on. So please do that. Make it engaging. I don't know when the next time you'll get a chance to talk to somebody from South Africa, but this is your opportunity to answer a million questions if you want. So for those of you guys that were here last week, this is a little bit of a repeat, but I do want to share, if those that were not here last week, a little bit about what Rotary is. And when I always talk about Rotary is because people always ask me what is Rotary. I always change it by not saying what is Rotary, but instead who is Rotary. Because when I say who is Rotary, it gives me a chance to put a personality. So Rotary is a worldwide organization made of about 1.5 million volunteers around the world. We support about 200 countries. There's about 48,001 clubs, and I'll explain that in a second. And we're just made up of diverse individuals, men, women, boys, girls, high school students, college students, people that are disabled, people that are older, all different colors, whatever it is, all different genders, that just do one thing, and all they do is they want to help other people. So we're called Rotarians, and we are part of the Rotary Club of Greater Lake Forest. So what we did is we opened up a club here in July, right in our backyard. And so you're now part of this group here, and we're excited about that. So what we do is we as a group volunteer our time to support the mental health, work with suicide prevention. We do things with homeless and veterans and human trafficking and protecting each other and working on the environment and supporting our local businesses, whatever it takes to make our place better as a community. And we believe in what's called service above self. And that's really what Rotary is all about. When you look at Rotary, there's kind of a couple of different things. One is we have a lot of stuff that we work with called Rotaracts, and those are made for college students and adults. And what we do is we provide them with opportunities to transition from high school to college. So you can be involved in that as well. We help to write resumes, get you job interviews, those kind of things. But what if you don't want to go to college and you want to do something more vocationally? Well, we can help you train to become a tradesperson, a mechanic, an engineer, whatever you think makes the most sense for you. So those are called Rotaracts with career development. Where you guys fall in line in most cases is junior high and high school students are what we call middle school and the high school are called interacts. So you guys are really all interacts. And we offer leadership opportunities. We even have a program called RILA. It's called Rotary Youth Leadership Award Program. And we might talk about that later on if we have some time. We also offer scholarships. Did you know that we actually offered $7.5 million worth of scholarships just last year alone? And I mentioned that we have about 1.5 million volunteer members. If I walk down the street and I said, how many of you guys raise your hand if you've ever heard of Amazon? How many of you guys could raise your hand? Everybody, right? Everybody knows Amazon all around the world. But if I said that Amazon is the same size as Rotary, and we have 1.5 million members, most people wouldn't know who Rotary is. So you get a feel for how big Rotary is just by knowing how big Amazon is. So that's kind of a cool thing there. So we can help you with service credit hours. We do a lot of things in our community. We even have a youth exchange program where we might send you away for a year to, let's say, Sweden, and we'll bring somebody from Sweden back here to spend their last year in high school or one of their years in high school to learn about that. And guess who pays for that? We do. We cover all those kind of costs. So those are the kind of things that we do. Now, Interact, there's two types. One of them are on campus. You have it on campus where you and your students get together and you have a leadership board. We typically have somebody that is an administrator or a teacher that wants to be an administrator. And you guys get to do all the same things we just talked about above. But there's also an opportunity where if you don't have somebody on campus, you can do things called the community-based interact, which is what you're doing right now. So you get a chance to interact with different people from different schools all over the country and have access to all the same things, scholarship programs, opportunities to work overseas, lots of different things like that, helping you to find the right college of your choice and so on. So in a nutshell, guys, Rotary is a couple things. We're a worldwide organization. We're not small. We are a service group that does nothing but volunteer to support each other in our communities. There's two avenues: Rotaract when you're a college or you're an adult student or a college student. And then there's Interact when you're middle school to high school. And you can either be on campus or you can be on a community base if your campus doesn't have one. And if you ever want to open a Rotary program on campus, let us know and we'll help you to go ahead and do that. But if not, you're welcome anytime to get on a Zoom call and be able to participate in this kind of a program. And I'll tell you a real quick story because I truly believe that all the organizations that are out there that really help each other, whether it's Kiwanis or Seropolis or Lions Club, they're all there to help each other out and help the communities. But one of the things I love about Rotary is that we can take you as a youth all the way to your high school, to your middle school, to your college, and into your adulthood. And I'll share with you a story, a true story. My son was involved in Rotary when he was in high school. And then from that, he didn't know where he was going to go, but he decided to go to Purdue University in Indiana. Now, here's somebody that's going to Indiana, and all of a sudden, he doesn't know anybody in Indiana, right? So he contacts the Indiana organization that happens to have a club on their campus, and he says, hey, I'm from California. I'm moving out to Indiana. I'm going to go to Purdue University. Can you help me find the right place to go? What's the right campus? What's the environment like? So when he got there, remember, he's never been in snow before. He's going from California sunshine to the cold Midwest in snow. And so he called those guys and it made his transition really easy. And then it didn't stop there because when he got a job out of college, he moved to Wichita, Kansas. Again, didn't know anybody. What's the first thing he did? He picked up the phone. He contacted Rotary in Wichita, Kansas, and asked them to help him find the right place to live, the safest place to live. And now he's there in Wichita, Kansas, and he even has some Rotary golf buddies too. So Rotary is really important for you as you're in middle school, to high school, to college, and into your adult life. And that's why I always say it's not what Rotary is, but is who Rotary is. And one of the things I love about Rotary is we can reach out to someone like Joe Lynn. Oh, sorry. We can reach out to someone like Joe Lynn because Joe Lynn, let me go back. Joe Lynn is a student at Santa Margarita, and she brought to our attention the need to be able to support, let me stop my share as soon as I figure this out, stop sharing. She brought to the need of being able to create a interactive program on her campus. Unfortunately, we weren't able to create one on her campus. And so she said, well, let's just do one in the cloud. So she went out and started this program called Community Service-Based Interact Program. So Jolynn, you're here, right? I'd like you to introduce us to our speaking team.
Yeah, great. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to our speaker from South Sudan. His name is Francis, and I believe he's here. And we just want to be so grateful to have him here because it's 6 a.m., I believe, at their time. And it's really early, and we really appreciate the time that you're going to share with us.
Okay, and I'm going to make sure I can share my screen with you guys. So give me a second. We share this screen. Let me know if you can see it.
We see it.
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Is it the first one? Okay.
No, it says education system.
The one?
It's not the first one.
It's not the first one. Okay, let me do this real quick. Let me do this. Let me stop the share. And now let me reshare, because that probably will work better. And let me reshare screen number 1. Why isn't screen number 1 working? Hold on. Sorry, guys. I know, stop share. Let's do this. While I'm doing this, Francis, you and Susan, talk a little bit about who you are, and then I'll get this all squared away, promise.
Okay. Francis, do you want to go first?
You start first because from there we'll be doing the presentation.
Oh, the presentation. Okay. All right.
All right, I'm getting there, guys.
Good evening and good morning to everyone. My name is Susan Nyabonyi. I
Is
am
that
a
working?
Kenyan. Yes, it's working.
Yep.
Good.
I'm a Kenyan based in South Sudan for now 14 years. It's like my second home now. And I've been there, and we started Rotary in Wow, South Sudan. I'm among the charter members, and I've been with Rotary for now since 2015. So almost 8 years now. And I am glad to be here, and I look forward to these meetings to be very productive. And we hope we have a good one. Unfortunately, we didn't get our interactors to join, being that it's South Sudan right now, it's at 5 in the morning. And other than that, there is a power problem where we were arranging with Francis that would organize for them to come and use internet at where I work. But now, being it's too early, they cannot be able to get access to internet, and also that would have been a challenge. So if it was during the day, we would have arranged for a few of them to come and be able to access internet so they could join this Zoom meeting. But unfortunately, none of them can be able to join, being very early and no power at the moment. So we hope we have a good one. We're looking forward to questions and getting through to you all. Nice to meet you all, and thank you.
Okay, Francis.
Yes, thank you very much, Susan, and thanks to everyone, Cedric, for pioneering this. I am really very happy to be here. Looking forward to having a very fruitful meeting together with you, and we hope our kids will be able to share with one another on different sides of the world. Actually, we are already in Monday morning. For you, it's still Sunday evening. That was the confusion. We logged in yesterday, Sunday morning. We thought it's the same, but it was Saturday morning yesterday for you. So we went back, and so today we are ready for this, and we are so excited. Looking forward for this day. So I'm Francis. For those who don't know, I've been a country chair for Rotary Club of South Sudan. I've been with Rotary since 2015. Been a president, also held some posts at the district level. And all the way, I've also won some awards with the Rotary. And here we are. Currently, I'm a mentor to interactors. I work a lot with kids and high school and also at university. I have managed to start up together with this of Susan. We started up 4 Interact clubs based in campus in the high schools in Wow, South Sudan. So I'm very excited to meet also other young people in high school across the continent. So I can go ahead with the presentation if you don't mind, Cedric. Hey, Cedric. Yes. Okay. So my presentation is about South Sudan. It's just the basic knowledge of what you need to know. Some of you might have already Googled it up or maybe seen in the news what South Sudan is. So would you mind going ahead, Cedric, with the slide? Okay, about this presentation, what are we going to cover? We are going to talk about the history of our country, just a brief one. Continue our cultures and tradition, what you need to know. the basic one. I'm not going to all the cultures and traditions that we have. And we will be talking about the struggle for independence. That's very core essence of our being as a new country in the world. And the current affairs in the country. Go and South Sudan and the United States, what do we have in common? And then also I'll talk a little bit about Rotary in South Sudan. So South Sudan is the world's newest country, as you have heard. We are located in the continent of Africa. Our land size is equivalent to almost the state of Texas in the US. We are just one country in Africa. Continue, Mr. Cedric. We got our independence in July 9th, 2011 from Sudan. Actually, we used to be part of the one country called Sudan. It's located in the Middle East. It was regarded as part of the Arab countries, Middle East countries and Arab nature countries. Due to that, because of our different uniqueness and our cultures are more African, there was a struggle that took us for about almost 50 years. That culminated to a peace agreement in 2005. That got us a self-rule for about 6 years, and then we had our independence in 2011.
Francis, I'm going to ask you to speak a little louder, and then I'm going to ask you maybe to turn off your video because I think that we're having a hard time hearing the scratching and stuff. So let's just try that. Try turning your video off and then try to speak a little louder. And then again, I'll just keep pushing the buttons like you asked me.
Why don't I share my screen in space, because I will be able to control the slides and go faster. Okay, if I share my screen.
I think it'd be easier if we just keep doing this.
No,
Okay.
Cedric, you can be able to let him be able to share his screen so that he can be able to control it.
I'm just concerned about the bandwidth, that's all.
No,
okay.
it won't affect anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I do? Yeah, disable.
There you go.
Okay, just 1 minute. Share my screen. Just a minute, I'm sharing my screen right now. There we go.
Francis, do you have it?
Nope.
So if it's okay.
So continue with your sharing, but I'll ask you to go fast a little bit.
Yes,
Okay?
just tell me. You need to give my screen back. I think you have the access. You need to give me back the control.
Really? Okay, there.
Yes. So let me go ahead and do that again. And then again, just tell me and I'll click through.
Okay. Okay, that's like right there. Okay. So if you can see that South Sudan is a landlocked country. We are located in East Africa, surrounded by Ethiopia, Sudan, which used to be part of us, and Kenya, Uganda into the south, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then the Central Africa. It's important for you to know our location in the world because that is very central to how our country is right now. All the current affairs is centered around those countries in the region. Who are we, South Sudanese? We South Sudanese We are Black Africans. Our population stands at around 15 million. Due to our historical ties with Sudan, which used to be an Arab country, our language on the street is Arabic. We call it Arabic Juba, a simple version of Arabic mixed with colloquial languages. Our Arabic is also our official language together with English. Meanwhile, we have other local languages because we have very many tribes. Those languages are also spoken as well in the public and also in some official communication of the government and other arenas. Continue. Yeah. You know, South Sudan is a diverse country with very many tribes. We have recorded 64 tribes, but people are arguing that there are more tribes over here. The major tribes in South Sudan may be of heart. The main one are Dinka, Nuer, Zande, Bari, Siluk. Me, myself, I'm from a tribe called Avukaya. So that's from where I am. But we have 64 other main tribes. And these tribes have very strong influence in individuals. So individuals are more affiliated to their tribes than to their country. So that's one of the factors we found in South Sudan. You ask somebody someone's name, and the next one they ask what's their tribe. It's like part of your profile. When you say my name is Cedric, you say Cedric Campbell from which state? For us, you say my name is Francis. I'm from Abukaya. That's how it is over here. And you can see one of the tribal markings over there on the face of the woman. And our country is really very rich. It's considered one of the richest countries in Africa in terms of natural resources. And I can tell you, we have areas that are untapped, maybe a region where no human being has ever been to in South Sudan. You see our population is just only 15 million, and most of this population are in diaspora, they're in refugee camps due to conflict. So the country is literally empty. It's just green. We have oil and gas. Most of it is untapped. The few one that is being tapped is about over 1 million barrels a day. We are pumping over 1 million barrels a day. Our country is also having one of the biggest swamp wetlands in Africa, called the Peat wetland. The Nile River is also one of the major features of the country. It runs right across the middle of the country. And we have also minerals, gold, uranium, copper, iron. Most of it are not tapped. And in terms of personalities, for those who are in the US, they might have seen those figures there. We have Lual, then we have Manut, one of the very tall guys you see playing for NBA, playing for major basketball in the US. Most of them are of South Sudanese origin. We have also Beauty. Our country is blessed with very unique features, very smooth skin people, black and very shiny. You can see one of the model there, Aditya Kes, is Australian-based, but right now in the US. This is part of the personality that we have around the world. And now, by the way, as a news for you, our team, our basketball team, is the newest in the world, but we are now doing very well. We are qualified for the World Cup. Yesterday, we beat Egypt. And we are doing really very well with the basketball. It seems to be one of the best in the world right now in Africa. Let's go ahead, please, Cedric. And our cultures. One of the main cultures that stand out in South Sudan is cattle. As you see in the picture, cattle is very central to most of the nomadic tribes in South Sudan. It's regarded as a prestige, as it's also like a currency. Actually, they deal with it in marriage, exchange of goods. It's literally the old way of business that people do things over here. Cattle is regarded as a central thing in all dealings. It's cultural, it's prestige, it's for marriage, it's everything. That is mostly for the nomadic tribes. And also cattle is a source of conflict and tribal hatred. People raid, people go steal from other tribes, and other tribes come steal from the others. The same way that it happens also in those days in the US with the cowboys and so on, and the local Hindu in the West. So that's the same thing that we are having here. Although it is still very early stage with us, but cattle is also a source of conflict, I can tell you. Please go ahead. Yeah, our livelihood. Farming is also one of the other livelihoods besides cattle keeping. Most of the tribes that are not pastoralists, are not nomadic, they live on cultivation because our land, 90% of it is arable, and the Nile River is one of those source of the agriculture. We have freshwater fish. That is one of very common food items we have in the country. Our main food here is beef, fish, and tropical greens with sorghum as our main staple food. So fish, if you talk about fish in South Sudan, most of it is freshwater fish, and that's what we eat a lot over here with beef and greens.
Hey, what is sorghum? Because I know that for people that are like gluten-free, it's always in like non-wheat foods.
Yes, it's non-wheat food. It's grain. It's part of the grains, yeah, the group of grains.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, yeah. Go back a little bit. Yeah, the history. So make a click because it's click. Yeah, again. Okay, just a little bit of the history of South Sudan. It goes all the way back to 1955. There were two civil wars. One ended in 1972, and the other started in 1983, all the way to 2005. So in 2005, there was a peace agreement, as I mentioned earlier, and it prepared Southern Sudan for a referendum, and that's what brought us all the way today. Continue clicking. Actually, between 2011 and 2013, where we had our independence, there was a political rivalry. So we are supposed to have our first election in 2015. So by 2013, the political leaders started fighting among themselves. But then there was some peace agreement after 2013 conflict. Those peace agreements keep on modified many times because political leaders were not agreeing and things were not going well. So we are expecting an election in 2024. So the current situation in the country is like this. You can move ahead to the next slide, please. You can see children there holding guns, which is not a very good image, but that's the current situation in the country. Instead of being in school, some children are holding guns and going to fight. The latest report indicates that we have about 4 million displaced persons across the country due to ongoing conflict over the issues of cows, the issues of election, the issues of leadership. The UN agencies has estimated that we have over 7.5 million people who will need food assistance by this year. Most of the main reason for this conflict, you can find it in the link over there, but it's fueled by intercommunal violence. As I mentioned to you, there is ethnic animosity, ethnic hatred among the tribes in the country and among the political leaders. they are not agreeing on the way forward to do a proper election. And there is also petty crime, and then we have wide-scale impunity. We have a lot of resources in the country, but then just few people are taking the money away. Like I tell you, almost 1 million barrels of petrol is being pumped out, sold out into the international market, but only few people are the ones getting the money. That's why we have a lot of impunity, a lot of money laundering in the country and out of the country. And then those who are poor are left to just hold onto the guns and so on. But we have some hope in the country. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yes, so the hope in the country lies in these children. You can see under the tree. These are some latest features that we have. Our literacy statistics show that our literacy rate stands at 34%. It was actually below that. It was like at 20%, but then it's coming up a little bit. So UNICEF report that 2.8 million children have missed school last year. One of the quotes which I like is that a child born to an educated mother has 50% higher chance of survival, which means there are early deaths for children. If you're educated, the chances are 50% your child can grow. So which means children do die early in their lives in the country. So if you want more of this information, you can get in that link. Our education system, English is the main medium of our instructions in all schools. That's why I can speak English. Other people can relate to that. Our country is an English-speaking country alongside Arabic. The way of education system is like that. The kindergarten, which is preschool, is 3 years, and then the primary school, 8 years. Then high school, which is secondary school, is 4 years. Then when you go to college for a degree, it's either 4 or 5 years, depending on the program. And if you want a simple diploma or vocational training, it goes for about 2 or 3 years after high school. That's our education system.
Francis, is there a University of South Sudan, or where is the closest university for you guys?
Yeah, we do have universities. We have the biggest university in the country in South Sudan is University of Juba. And we have the University of Baragazal located right here in Wau. And we have also a University of Upper Nile. It's also located in Juba. And then we have a couple of other private universities. The major public universities we have here are about 5. Rumbek University, we have John Garang University, Juba University, and Bahr al-Ghazal University. So we do have our university here. Now, in all these wires Rotary, our Rotary in South Sudan is part of the district of Rotary International District 9213. Our district comprises of 4 countries: Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and South Sudan. Currently, our governor is from Ethiopia. She's called Governor Azra. In South Sudan, we have 4 Rotary clubs so far recognized. We have Juba, which is in the capital city. Also, we have Juba Central, also in the capital city. We have the Rotary Club of Munity, also in the capital city. And we have another one called Juba Airport, also in Juba. And out of Juba, we have our club, which is a Rotary Club of Wau. In Rumbek is one of the towns out of the capital city. Rumbek is having one club that we are forming right now. It's in progress, and we hope we'll get that club formed soon by this year. Please go ahead. And interactors, I will speak more about interactors in South Sudan. I mean in Wau, where I am, I have mentored them. In Rotary Club of Wau, we have sponsored 5 interact clubs since 2017. We have the Inter Club of Loyola Secondary School. We have already created a WhatsApp group for them so that they can connect with interactors across the continent with you guys and others across the world. We have Interact Club of St. John Paul Secondary School. It's a school of the Catholic Church. So we are also mentoring them. We have Interact Club of Booster Secondary School. It's a private school. And Interact Club of Standard Secondary School, also another private school. All these 4 high schools, we are mentoring them, and some of them are ready to get in touch with some folks over there with you, so they can be able to pen pals together. Other clubs are in Juba. We have the Inter Club of Juba Model Secondary School, Komboni Secondary School, and another one I just skipped my mind with the name. So these are about the interactors in South Sudan. So just a few about what we have supported in the country so far. And you can see most of the schools in the country, how they look like. On your left, in the first picture, this is one of the classrooms. They don't have benches. It's the Bologna Primary School where we support them. We are working on renovating the classes. One of our partners, the Water for South Sudan, and a national governmental, a non-governmental organization, NGO, has drilled a borehole there, and they are working on supporting these children. It's quite a pity. The children are very excited to learn, but then this is the environment where we are working on how we can be able to build more classrooms for these kids. U.S.-South Sudan relations. Our relationship as a country with the United States is very old. The United States plays a crucial role in our struggle for independence, particularly former President George W. Bush. And we have Obama, First President Obama. He managed to help us with our independence. So there is a lot that the U.S. has done in the country, and just recently, over $288 million US has been given to different organizations in South Sudan by the U.S. government through USAID. So it's part of your taxpayers' money that the U.S. government is assisting with us to help us with all our struggles over here. And annually, the U.S. government is sponsoring some young people to go to the U.S. for exchange programs and learning empowerment mission over there. And currently, the U.S. mission is the biggest contributor to the United Nations mission in South Sudan and conducting peace operations in order to keep people from fighting and protecting civilians from bandits and criminals. So the U.S. government is doing a lot in helping this part of the country. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer. I hope my presentation was clear.
Yeah, there was a question about the size of the student body at the university. Either Susan, maybe you or Francis can answer that. I think Les, you had that question.
Yes, in the university, our Rotary in the University of Bahr al-Ghazal is about like 22 students currently. You know, there is a higher turnover of students because of the COVID-19. Some students have left actually the country altogether, others have dropped off the college. So the numbers keep on changing. So currently there are about 22 of them, and they are on online. So I'll try to get them also this recording so that they can listen to it.
Frank, you had a question.
Yes. Somebody here is asking, do you see evidence of US aid in day-to-day life? I would say yes and no at the same time, because yes, you can see that the government is trying to do its best in order to restore democracy into the country, and that is reflected in the activities that are currently geared towards preparing for elections. Meanwhile, I can't see much because before the US aid government used to be having food aid that was distributed with logos of the US government on it. But right now, they don't do that anymore. Due to sanctions, some individuals have been sanctioned because they're obstructing peace, they're obstructing all the agreements that were supposed to be implemented.
Maybe I can add something on that. With the US aid, because of also the current situation, COVID, and also aid being limited during Donald Trump's time, we have the embassy, the US embassy in South Sudan, providing like mentorship programs and scholarships, education scholarships mostly. But a lot of other projects, they are a bit minimal at the moment. There's a lot of WASH programs, but not from the government. This is from either individuals. We have medical programs and girl child programs, supporting girls to be in school, whereby it's mostly individuals and a few organizations that are not governmental based. Francis, go on.
Yeah. I've seen some questions over here. In all cultures, the educational level of the mother is the greatest factor affecting infant mortality. Yes. About the infant mortality, it's because of education issues, the mothers, they're unable to take care of their babies in a proper way. So most NGOs are investing so much in educating young mothers, because we have a lot of teen marriage and teen pregnancy. So they're educating the mothers. They're also giving out support, like education for dropouts. After you raise up, you give birth, you can go back to school. And also they're giving up support materially. There are some relief items that are being given also to mothers, and healthcare support. These are some of the things which are helping with the mortality rate. And right now, there are some Rotary scholarships that are going to nurses, investing in midwives and nursing training in the country.
Les, you have a question.
Yep.
Yes, I'm just curious about we starting to touch upon the effect of the pandemic on the country. I'd like to know, how did the pandemic affect South Sudan?
And Susan, your voice is coming more clear than Francis's, and I think it has something to do with just the connectivity in his area. So perhaps you can answer many of these questions.
Okay, yeah, same as we were affected with COVID all over the world. South Sudan was affected mainly on traveling and economic-wise. Yes, we had a lot of organizations pulling out and leaving the country, and we were affected with COVID. We had quite a number of few losses of lives, and we put some measures that actually helped the country. And the country being big, there's a less population, it really helped also. So we didn't have as much deaths as we had in other countries. But also, we still have the effects of COVID up to now. Businesses went down, they had to close down. We had restaurants closing down. We had schools closing down, and then the school year also got affected for about 2 years. And we're still recovering from it. And 2021, we could still see the effect. At least now in 2022, we're starting to come up. And we've had a lot of aid being cut down at the moment, because most countries were also affected with COVID. And also adding to that, Ukraine. Whatever is happening in Ukraine is really also affecting South Sudan directly also. And with that, it's, you know, like we can combine all this pandemic and the situations of war in the rest of the other countries. We have all this funding being cut off.
So Joshua had a question. Last week or last month, we heard from a journalist, a female journalist from Iran, who shared with us the inequalities between men and women. Joshua, you had a question. Go ahead and ask your question. We can't hear you.
Hello.
There you go, Josh. We can hear you now.
So is there like in Iran there's like women, they don't really have any rights. So are there is it the same in South Sudan, or is there more rights for women there?
Okay, with this one, I will answer, and I will also let Francis add more of it, because he's South Sudanese and he knows the culture better. But this one I'll answer according to my experience. They are really trying to get women on board, and there's a lot of focus on women empowerment. There's a lot of focus on girl child education, but we still have cultural practices that are actually holding women back, whereby we have some cultures where girls are married at very early age, 13, 17, you know, and there's a lot of push to get the girl child to be, you know, early marriages to be stopped. And there's a lot of programs and, you know, a lot of effort being done by the government to actually get that, you know, like to empower the women. And with that also we have, that's why we have focuses like sponsorship that is keeping women in schools. But still, you know, it's something that has to be worked on over time. Even countries like Kenya, whereby we've had our independence for a while now, and we still have issues with women. But Francis, maybe you can add something on that?
Yes, about women rights. Yes, in Constitution, the women rights is there, it's mentioned, but our culture doesn't give that right that much to women. The government is trying to do its best, but due to the backward culture, due to the traditions that people are holding, it is still a long way to go. For example, women are not allowed to. It's not that not allowed, but women are not looked into with favor when they become CEOs of a company, when they are director general. Women who tend to be educated, people don't want to marry them. For example, you see somebody who is educated, a man who is educated, he wants to marry an educated village girl. So these are some of the things that we are seeing, and the culture is still there. The government is doing its best. Last week, we had a law that has been passed that gives more rights to women, and women can be able to sue whoever violates them. So it's still a long way to go. That's about women's rights. I hope I answered you, man.
And also to add on, Francis, it's all not doom and gloom. In WOW, actually, the state where we're coming from, we have a women governor, and in the leadership, we have more women in WOW than compared to the rest of the country. We have 10 states in South Sudan, and we only have one woman governor, and she comes from WOW, which is a good thing.
Yeah, Grayson was asking where or how is electronic technology in South Sudan? Wondering since internet isn't accessed all the time. My answer to you, Grayson, is that South Sudan is still a green country. Let me say, we don't have internet access all the time because it's a privilege. It's not like a right what you have as common in the US. Just recently, we have our fiber optics. I myself, I'm a telecommunications engineer. That's what I do for a living. Our fiber optics backbone that comes to the country, that brings internet to the country, was just finished last year. We have just started having 4G internet last year. So we don't have this kind of in-country network of fiber that goes around. We don't have even telephone lines. Most of it we are using is the cell phones, which are based on microwave links all across the country. So our technology is a little bit backward, but there is some effort and there are some opportunities. If you think you can come and research and invest in the country, that's an area where to start.
So Francis, before I ask anybody else to ask a question, I just want to build on your thing here. In the US, most of the students in high school and even younger have cell phones. I'm assuming that it's very difficult to have a cell phone in your country.
The cell phones is available in the market, but it's expensive. Or most of the time it's expensive even to load the airtime. For you to have internet on the phone, you have to have some money to load airtime and then have the data for the internet. Yes, we don't have many children having phones in the country. Even for youngsters below 18, it's being shunned. It's people even don't look at you well. As a young man carrying a cell phone, that's not good for us here.
Got it. So I saw Cassidy had Cassidy. Where you at? There's Kathy. Cassidy had a question.
Yeah, it was just asked in the chat. I was wondering if the tribes had their own set of laws that they followed or if they were under the government's laws.
Come again?
So in the 64 tribes, it's in the chat, and self-regulations, does each of the governments have their own laws, or do they have one law for the whole state of or the country of Africa?
64 tribes.
Tribes, I'm sorry, that's what I meant, tribes, not.
The 64 tribes. Okay, the 64 tribes, they are scattered all over the country, so they don't have a kind of constitution for themselves. Although we have few tribes that have kingdoms, but they all ascribe to the one constitution of the country. One of the main problems we are facing over here is the issue of constitution making. People are not agreeing on the constitution. That's part of the conflict we are having actually. Yeah, the constitution is done in Juba by the president, and the president is always issuing decree if there is something, a decision that has to be made. He does what we have in the US, the executive order. So our country is mostly governed by executive order from the president. Although we have a constitution, but the constitution doesn't favor everyone. That's why we're having a conflict.
So my understanding, I read something, whether it was an email or something I read, is that in 2024, your country will probably have its first true election. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. But before that election, one of the milestones for the election is to have a constitution.
Wow. So if you guys think about that, when you're, 18 years old that you get to vote? I can't remember, right? There are people in his country that are 70, 75 years old that have never had a chance to vote, and they'll get a chance in 2024 to be able to vote for one of the first times. I mean,
yes.
Doesn't that just make you kind of go, wow? I mean, that's like unheard of.
Yeah, it's going to be a great opportunity. Although we had some votes before in 2010, when Sudan was still one and we were having a self-rule before the independence, there was a kind of election that was done. And then after the election, we had a referendum that gave us the chance to choose between unity with Sudan and separation from Sudan. So that kind of election, we had it in 2011. That's what we did. Not everybody participated. Yeah, but the real election, presidential and parliamentary, will have it in 2024. But before the 2024, we need to have the constitution passed.
Jolene, you had a question.
Yeah, I heard Francis mention about insecurity in South Sudan. Can you elaborate? Like, what is it like to feel like unsafe in South Sudan, like in the situation that's happening now?
Okay, the insecurity we are having in the country is not in the capital city, Juba, or the major towns. It's mostly in the country, in the countryside. When you leave the main town, you're going outside. And most of this insecurity is tribal. It's some rebel groups fighting government soldiers. Sometimes they attack convoys when you're traveling by road from one town to another. Certain places, they get ambushed. That's why we call that insecurity. And we have intercommunal fighting because of cows. As I mentioned to you, the cattle is also a source of conflict, and revenge killing. Revenge killing, like your father killed my father, I also go look for you and kill your father or the other brother or so on. It's like revenge killing, but mostly not targeted towards foreigners. It's mostly among ourselves.
So Les, you have a question.
Yes, I'm just wondering, what is the typical family structure like in South Sudan? Do people live in a multi-generational family? What's the size of the typical household? How many children does a typical couple have?
Yeah, we are a multi-generational family. We are a communal society. Communal society, our family structure is the father, the mother, and we have also the uncles sometimes live with us together in the same compound. And we have also sometimes the grandfather and the grandmother, they live alongside with us. And due to the conflict, we have orphans, the children that were his parents or nieces and nephews, cousins, and so on. They live in the same house because either their parents or their children or whoever is taking care of them has died. We also raise them. For me, for example, in my house, I have orphans that I'm raising them because their father is either killed or the mother has abandoned them due to the conflict. That's the way how our family structure is mostly. And polygamy, multiple wives is also allowed in the country. So in one household, you will find one husband, one father. We have different mothers. People marry 3, 4, 5 wives, up to maybe 10 wives in the same household. That's what's happening here, and it's totally normal over here to have multiple wives. Yeah, so it's part of prestige actually.
Frank had the same question I had, which is I know a lot of countries require you to have military service at some point in time. Is that required in your community?
No, it's not required to have military service. However, the situation will force you to sometimes obligate you to get into military service out of anger. Sometimes when you have some relatives that were killed, like I'm saying, someone seeking revenge. That's one of the motivating factors that will take you to join the military. However, our military here is not well paid. The soldiers can go for 2, 3 months, sometimes even half a year without salary. And they don't have very good supply like the US Army does. So it's just based on motivation other than money, but other than salary that you join the military.
So let me ask the group something if I could. And William, I'll start with you because you've been kind of quiet there, but what's one thing that you took away from today's presentation that you just did not know about? And you guys can all
I
think about
want
the same question.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add something on the military.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So when there is a conflict or there is war, that's when you'll find the children are being taken as child soldiers, and it's by force. And then after that, we have UNICEF, which has been based in South Sudan for quite some time now, helping out with rehabilitating child soldiers and back to their homes and trying to rehabilitate them back to being kids again. But that's when most of the time we've had children being involved in military by force. And also they would go to, like when someone is looking for an army, because we have several generals, they are looking for an army, they would go to a village, ambush it, and get the men to join them in the army. But most of the time is also volunteering. It's voluntary.
Is that one of the reasons you have such a high dropout rate in like school?
Yes, in schools,
Yes.
you'll find that during the war, yes, we had a lot of dropouts because of that. And also, when the schools are starting, you find girls and boys, almost the same number, a lot of them. And then as the kids continue growing up, there's a lot of frustrations at home, maybe hunger, maybe, instability. The fathers having so many wives, so they're not able to look after their kids. So the kids decide to go to the streets. So we have a lot of street kids because of this situation. And then also as a way to help out in the family, you find the girls being married off to, early childhood marriages. They're being married off very early so that they can be able to, help the family when their also resources are scarce. So that's why we have, when the schools are starting, a lot of students. And then as you go higher towards high school, girls reduce, boys are many. And then if there's instability in the country, boys are taken into becoming soldiers, and they start training them very early.
Is there a heavy level of human trafficking and so on in your country?
We have this, and there's actually a place called Demzuber. If you check it online, it's actually one of the places that is mentioned in Google about South Sudan, which is more detailed than any other thing. Demzuber, we used to have a lot of slave trade there. And right now we have a lot of human trafficking, which is kids are taken at very early age to go and work as house helps, mostly. And also we have kids being abducted because of the war, because of diseases. There's a lot of population instability. So to keep the population going and to keep the like for example the Dinkas would want to be in a lot in number, so they will try and have as many children as possible, and if possible even they will still get abduct children and keep them as their own.
Can I ask, when you say the boys are drafted very early, by force into the armed forces, and the girls are married off very early, how early were you talking about?
We're
as
talking
young
of
as
ages
10,
12, 15,
12, 10,
12,
yeah.
15. Yeah.
Girls, recently we were just protesting about a girl who was married and she was 17 years old in Rumbek, and we've had social media being involved in talking against it. So we have girls who get married and maybe we never know because it's in the village, who are as young as 13 years.
William, what are your thoughts, buddy?
I think the most shocking thing that I've heard today is probably the forced militarization. Yeah.
Joshua, how about you?
Yeah, I also agree that about the like how people are getting married so young, and they also are like forced, like kids so young are already forced to go into the military, and they grow up and all they know is violence.
Hey, Valerie, I'm going to call you. What's one thing that you took away, maybe that you didn't know about, or that you're just like, wow, that's just amazing?
About the education. Yeah, because I didn't know that how the Sudan, how they teach a student. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that the classrooms, I mean, could you imagine going to school and sitting on like what looked like rocks, right? And
Yeah.
very,
But it
very
looks like the classroom are very well ventilated, so COVID doesn't spread as easily.
Cassidy, how about you?
Something that stood out to me was that, like, living in the US, we take a lot of things for granted, such as voting and having phones, like, at a young age, and that's something that a lot of people can't enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really bright thing you're saying there, because we do take advantage of those kind of things because we just don't know what else is out there. And that's part of what this is about, is to share with you how fortunate you are and how much other countries, need our support. That in there. Jolynn, you run this thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised about the cattle stuff, where they keep cattle for not only like for tribes, but also for marriage, which is kind of like new to me and definitely something that I can go and Google from.
Yeah. Frank, I know you got a whole different perspective and so on, but Frank, what is your thought as a grown man when you're listening to this? What are your thoughts?
As a father of two boys about the same age as the kids on this call, I can't imagine the thought of risking them to either forced military, being taken and treated as trained as soldiers, just taken from me, or being taken and put into slavery, or in any kind of human trafficking situation. It just, I can't imagine, living like that. It's
Yeah. How about you, Grayson?
Well, the country is rich in resources, but like not a lot of profits are put back into the country. Like they're streamed out into other organizations. Check it out.
Well, okay, that's pretty insightful there. John, how about you? You're up in the top left of my screen here. You put this together. What are your comments and thoughts about the whole program?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is really, really cool. We're going to be doing this the last Sunday of each month with from a different country, from Spain to Germany, Nicaragua, Morocco. I mean, the list is going to go on. So we're going to have a lot more of wonderful conversations just like this. And I want to thank Frank and Susan especially for getting up before the sun and being with us today and sharing your knowledge and information with us. One quick question I want to ask: what's the temperature there today?
Yeah, in WOW right now, it's because it's early morning, it's 25 degrees. During the day, it can reach all the way to 40.
All the way to what?
And it's very sunny. 40
Yesterday,
degrees. I'm talking of 40 centigrade.
Yeah,
Okay.
yesterday, the most current one is yesterday I had, they had reached outside on the open, it was 42, and inside under shade, it was 39. So
That's
AC
Celsius.
42 degrees is 100,
42 degrees
106 or
Celsius.
so.
Celsius. Yeah,
Over
which is
100,
about
yeah.
80
106.
Fahrenheit.
It was 47 degrees here this morning.
But Celsius
But
is
it's
what
a
they're talking
Fahrenheit.
about.
But that Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Fahrenheit. But as we're talking about degrees in Celsius.
Yes. So that's
Yeah. So which is
Over
about
100.
80. I think.
106 degrees Fahrenheit, basically.
wow.
Yes.
Wow. So Susan and Francis, before we close, and yes, I echo the thank yous, and I know Jolynn as well does. What's a question you might have for us and our students that are on this call?
Those who are, okay, go ahead, Susan, go first, Susan.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Francis. For me, I would like to have like, exchange programs, because it's all not gloom and doom in South Sudan. It's not so scary as it sounds. We have Rotarians there. We have people who have visited. We have tourists actually coming into South Sudan. So don't be too scared about it, because the government is really trying to make things work. So if there is a way we can have, friendship exchange, or even not only that, like you have extra pens, you have extra books that you can be able to collect from your school, because at times I know it's dumped in the dustbin when they're done reading. So if you have novels, storybooks, you can keep them and collect them, and we find a way to get them into South Sudan, because one thing that the students or the pupils in schools are limited with is books, pens, and if there's a way we can be able to help with that, and try even do one desk at a time in each class, it would be very nice to have that.
Hey,
Yes.
Jolene, I have an idea. If you want to get the information from all of the people who are on this call, maybe you guys can come up with like a program where it's called one desk one desk at a time. And maybe you can kind of start a program. I see Grayson shaking his head like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. And you've got some books that you might have. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe Jolene, you can kind of take that on as a project with this team and call it one desk at a time, and be something that you guys create, and your schools can probably help you too.
Susan, can
I mean, even Joshua says, I'd like to help too. So
I think this is great. This is so cool. Susan, can you give us an idea of do you have some specific books, textbooks, novels, fiction? What are you looking for?
I would not want to limit it, because we are dealing with a varying number of students. So what we'll do, we'll just receive the books and actually put them according to the age group or the topics it's about. So I wouldn't want to limit it, but it would be nice to have books that are actually not, pictorial books mostly. And also the students get to see what is out there. It doesn't limit their knowledge to only South Sudan. So if we have magazines too, nice magazines. So I will not limit it, but let's, these are children, so we'll just have things that can motivate them, things that they can learn from. Anything to do with technology, English also, biology would be nice. Engineering, things to do with stars, because that is also very limited in South Sudan. I have not seen that. And on the desk, I like the idea of one desk at a time. And we'll be able to cover most schools in, probably we could start with WOW, because that's where we are from, and go to the rest, engage all the other Rotarians, and then we get to also all the other schools in South Sudan.
Les, I see this as a
Francis
Signal
also,
Hill Greater
Francis.
Lake Forest opportunity.
Yeah,
Just
Francis
talk
also
about
has
Cedric.
Say again?
Francis, what
Say
are your
again?
thoughts? Any questions that you have for the group here?
Yes,
Francis.
thank you very much. This is a very fruitful meeting. I want this to continue. We'll need to have this exchange program. The most medium for communication here is the WhatsApp application, WhatsApp group, WhatsApp messaging. So if we can have some of those who are interested to join those WhatsApp groups, we can be able to do the exchange program with them. They can find friends and pen paling together. One of the motivating factors for keeping children in school over here is peer pressure. If they see other colleagues, other peers, their age mates in another part of the country that are in school, that will be one of the motivating factors that will keep them also in school. So it's good for them to have this exchange program with each other. They should be exchanging messages, and maybe in the nearest future we can get folks from there coming over, and we from here also going over there. So that's one of the things we can do. And I support the idea for one desk at a time. Really, that school which I pictured, they really need desks. They really need places to sit as they learn. Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. All right, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time again. Oh, John, go ahead.
I have one thing. We all need to wish Susan, she is going to have a baby, hopefully on March 23rd. It'll be her second child. So we all need to wish Susan all the best and have a wonderful, wonderful birth and et cetera. So kudos to
you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on this call here. So,
Thank you.
John, you have everybody's email address and so on. Maybe you and Jolene can get together. We could talk about one desk at a time. I think it's a phenomenal And I love it came out of this, right? It came out of this group here, which is awesome. So I'm going to share one last screen.
One last question, Derek. There are some people, I think, Frank, I don't have your email address or anybody else. If you could send your email address to me so that we can make sure we have it in our DAC2B Interact base, I would be very, very appreciative. My email address is the letter J.
You want to just put it in here in the chat box? It'd be a lot easier.
There you go. Okay.
And people are putting their email addresses in the chat box right now. So while you're doing that, I'm going to show one last screen for you guys. And then we'll just go ahead and call it a day here or a night with great gratitude of everybody being on this call. You should see something pretty colorful, right? Got it. Okay, I saw your, I'll like. So a couple things going on there. Do we have any juniors or sophomores in high school on this call? Okay, never mind. So next year or the next year, whatever it's going to be, is we have a program called Rotary Youth Leadership Award Program, where we send 200 students that are sophomores and juniors into a leadership camp program. So as time goes on, I want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind, or if you have a brother or sister that falls in that high school era, let us know. You heard Susan and Francis talk about a Rotary Youth Exchange program. If there was ever interest, what we would do is we would actually send you and we would exchange another student, not permanently, but we would exchange you guys so you have a chance to live in their environment, to learn more about their environment. And so that's something to consider as well. If you were looking for service hours, we have a Clean Lake Forest event coming up on March 18th and the 25th. So if you're getting our emails, you can always just go to Clean Lake Forest, or you can go to our website. All the details are there, and that'll give you a chance to get some service hours if you want. And then if you enjoyed this, let me ask you something. The reason we moved it from last month, which was at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, to 7 o'clock this time, was largely because of the folks in South Sudan. We didn't want them to come in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Can I just get an idea? Does 5 o'clock for you guys work better, or does 7 o'clock work for you guys better? How many of you guys can raise your hand at 5 o'clock that would be better? 5 o'clock on the last Sunday of the month.
Oh, sorry to intervene. I just wanted to add, like, I think 7 o'clock, but like dependent on the speaker, because there's also jet lag, like every single speaker in the country. So you like have to depend on the speaker to determine the time.
Yeah, but for you guys, is it easier to be at 7 o'clock or is it easier at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, personally, I think 7, just
Okay.
me.
Okay, I got a lot of head shaking going. 7 o'clock works for you guys?
Raise your hand if 7 o'clock is the best time for you.
Yeah, I got all the eyes raising their hands and stuff at this point.
Okay, you got it? Okay, so
Got
7
it.
o'clock is better.
7 o'clock, that's good. So next month, we're going to have a speaker who will be coming in from Germany to talk about what's going on in Germany. The good news is that she's here in the United States, so we don't have to worry about time constrictions. And then if you're, parents on here, but Frank, if you're interested, we are going to meet Tuesday over at Visiting Angels and talk about in-house or in-care elderly healthcare out here in Lake Forest. We meet every Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30 at different locations. But if you're interested in doing some work with Rotary and being able to, support the community in volunteer time, love to have you come out and meet with us. So I'll leave it at that. And your kids, they can participate as well. There's all sorts of things that for all of us to do. So, okay. Any last minute comments, thoughts, ideas, or anything else? Les, thanks for joining, buddy. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on with your club. I hope that your club can, oh, by the way, the PowerPoint presentation we'll make available to everybody. And then what we'll do also is we'll make sure that this presentation, which has been recorded on Zoom, will be placed on our website. So you can always go back and watch it. You can also go back and watch the one you missed about Iran. I know that there were some issues with the technology, but remember, we're calling from South Sudan, who uses a satellite for their internet. So it got choppy, it got difficult at times, but I think you guys walked away with some really good information. And now you have everybody's contact information. So if you ever want to reach out to Susan or Francis about anything going on in their country, please do so. And then one of the beauties of what we try to do with this program is for you guys to interact with each other. You're from different schools, you're from different ages. Help each other, grow with each other, and make a difference. So with that, guys, I'll say, go, John.
I put my email out for anybody, and Joshua, you asked who do we contact for the one desk at a time. use me at this point as a central point to drop off for any information, and I'll get with Jolene and Cedric, and we'll figure out how to make it work.
We'll formalize this a little more and get
Yeah.
the words out to everybody, and you guys get the words out to people. Meanwhile, start collecting.
Yeah, just use me as your central contact.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. You guys have a great week at school. Thanks everybody for participating.
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Peace be with you guys.
Thank you,
And
guys.
you too, Suzanne.
Okay.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Suzanne.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
You too as well. Get some sleep.
Yes, I am heading there.
Very good.
Yes.